Roughrider news. Got the brighter views, got the inside looks and the interviews. Every student better watch us, always moving, never stop us. One of the greatest, like a goddess, like a balloon, you'll never pop us. Everybody wanna get a love to us, ain't nobody ready for the package up. One of the greatest stations, we made it, don't ever hate it, don't stage it, cause we created the famous display of greatness. Superb, common display is the eagle, huge bird, yeah. Watch it in advisory, watch it in the library. This should be your primary amazing news source. Going through the school course, understand the news sports. Every Wednesday 2-4 in a month. Brighter sun, here we are and here we come. Yeti go, Yeti flow, everything that you should know. My name's Recharge, now you've seen that. Everything that you know, we mean that. Brighter crew, tighter screw, that's what we call Rider News.
Welcome back to another episode of Rider News. This is our second episode this year, and it is jam-packed full of useful information about all the fun things going on at Port Angeles High School. That's right, even though we're distance learning, there's still stuff happening. Now let's not waste any more time and jump right into it. Today is Monday, September 28th, and I'm Isaac. Most years our students are pretty isolated on the PAHS campus, but this year there's a lot going on in the community. Our students are engaged in several ways, whether it's through part-time jobs or community service. The partnership between our high school and the town we live in grows tighter every day. We sent out a news team downtown to talk to some local community members about the partnership, how it can be improved, as well as the good things we are currently doing. Take a look.
Hi, I'm Ruby from Port Angeles High School Rider News, and we're going to go ask people on the streets about the high school. I'm Ruby, and I'm interviewing
Drew.
Today we are interviewing
Samantha Weinert.
Do you support Port Angeles High School?
Yes.
How do you support Port Angeles High School?
Ads in the paper up there. I also support him. How would I directly support him? I've done some sponsorships as well as donations for I think it's the prom after party. I think it is.
Yeah.
I help out enough groups I have to remember exactly what I've done for the high school here. But those are a couple of the ways that the store specifically has helped out. My wife's a paraeducator as well as several members of my family for the school district as a whole. So usually whenever there's any levy votes or things of that nature, we support in that way as well.
Do you support Port Angeles High School?
Yes, but I think there are things about it that could be better and need to be better.
Like?
I think that there needs to be more money put into the upkeep of the actual school itself, in terms of, buildings falling apart. And I also think that there are perhaps one or two teachers that have done things that need to be talked about a little bit more, and maybe have some things done about it.
I think one of the best ways to support the community is to be involved. I do a lot of stuff at the city at the planning commission level, and a lot of people don't realize that you can be involved with a lot of stuff and not necessarily have to be an adult. Pretty much anything you can volunteer for, or even just show up during public comment and make sure you know about what's going on, both at school, well, not just, but school board meetings, planning commission, city council. Those are all good places that you can support the community by saying what all's going on there. Shopping the local is a great way to support the community.
Oh yeah.
Because a lot of that, if you go out, unfortunately, if you go out to like Walmart or Amazon, at least Walmart's paying local employees. But if you go to Amazon, that money pretty much entirely leaves the community.
How do you think Port Angeles High School can better help with the community?
I think that the programs that are going there now are doing a pretty good job of community outreach and things like that. I think it's more up to the community to accept the outreach rather than the outreach to reach the community.
The community can better support the high school.
That's a good one. Well, from a voting standpoint, I'd like to see there be less arguments of whether or not levies and other school funding things should pass.
How do you think the community can better support Port Angeles High School?
Voting. when there is a vote on the table that will support the high school and support the teachers and the kids or anyone who works there. Even if you didn't go to the high school, or even if you went to the high school years and years and years ago, the high school has steadily gotten worse over the years, as things do when they get older. So you should still care about it, because the people who are going there now are going to be the future of this town and the world.
There's a lot of great things happening out in the community, and I am so glad students are getting the opportunity to engage. Speaking of engaging students, there is an upcoming event hosted by our Career and Technical Educations Department under the supervision of Miss Wharton. Will be calling students onto campus. That's right, in-person learning will be making a comeback in a big way. The emergency response drill is one of the first approved programs to be offered. This is a perfect way for students of the medical careers class to get some hands-on learning. We wanted to get all the info for you, Roughriders, so we spoke with Miss Wharton about this upcoming event. Check this out.
Hi, my name is Betsy Wharton, and I teach the brand new class called Emergency Response this year. It's part of the Medical Careers program. So we just got permission to bring students on campus to do an emergency drill. Here we're going to do it in the garden just because it's kind of a convenient space. We're going to be up here for 5 Wednesdays in a row starting next week. And we're going to set up in here some kind of an evacuation camp, if you can imagine. We're going to build shelters, learn how to build a fire. We're going to do first aid. We'll do some search and rescue and communications. We've got two-way radios. We're working with the Calhoun County Sheriff's Department and some other community organizations. And our final day on October the 28th, and yes, that is Halloween week, we will be staging an actual emergency drill. The precise scenario is yet to be determined, but it should be quite a fun event, and we'll learn a lot about how to respond to emergency in hopes of teaching some skills, building resiliency in the community, and really just getting together and having a good time.
That sounds like a great event, but the medical careers class isn't the only class that has some passion flowing during this pandemic and distance learning. Last episode, we caught up with Mr. Rodahl, who teaches orchestra here at PAHS. He has even more going on than you could believe, so we had to go back and hear what else is going on, or will be going on, while the orchestra class is learning remotely this year. Let's see what he has to say.
Well, yeah, we're in a unique position in orchestra in that I didn't have a ton of faith in regular school years that people practiced at home, but now we're cordially required to. So even though it sucks that we can't meet and rehearse in class every day, hopefully some of the things that I'm putting up on Google Classroom for individual practice will improve the level of each individual in the classroom. Because when we meet to rehearse, we're learning each other's part and playing along with each other. And that's not necessarily focusing on our own technical abilities. So right now we've got, stuff in our Google Classrooms, and I can pull up some of these assignments here. Not that, instructions, there we go. So everybody still has to play, that's still a requirement, and through the power of Google Classroom, they can send me recordings of them playing, and I review those. And that's something that we did even in the normal school year. But to compensate for the sort of the class time, to make sure that we're still getting some learning done, I've set up 3 tracks of learning for everybody, and they can choose one of the 3 and they can switch at any time. There's a performance track, a composition track, and a music history track. So if you want to do the performance track, we get you set up with some scales, and I think next week's assignment is picking a solo out, and we're going to bring in some teachers from the local colleges to work with the performance track students so that they can really focus on their own individual performance if that's what they choose to do. Composition track, we've been doing some really basic composing using online software or pen and paper if that's what they choose to do. And it's each week is kind of almost the way that in an art class there would be a topic that you'd be making some kind of artwork around, or in ceramics even, that we're making a human form, but it's up to you what that looks like. Same thing with composing, is I've kind of given some some restrictions about what kind of piece you're going to be writing, but it's still up to you to use the creativity to decide, which notes you're going to use, and then we talk about which rules we need to follow and which rules we can maybe bend and break, but we want to, learn the rules before we break them. And then the history track, last week, I just kind of had them watch a series of videos going over sort of each period of music. And this week we're doing a composer report. And while you guys walked in, I was recording an asynchronous video about how to make a listening guide for a piece of music so that someone who isn't necessarily into classical music might be able to follow along and know what's going on. So each week we'll basically have an assignment that fits one of those tracks along with a submitted recording of each performer. And we use our Google Meets mostly to rehearse that piece together. I try to play along and hope to bring in some specialists because I'm really a violin player. I can handle cello or bass, but bringing in some specialists to work with the cello players, bass players on the pieces that we've chosen. And this year, more than any, is really going to be more of a flipped classroom, and I've given all the orchestra students lots of opportunities to kind of decide which pieces we're working on, just so that the little that we are able to do together is something that we're going to be passionate about.
That sounds like a lot of fun, but we can't finish the show without talking about the people who really matter. You, the students. The smoke from all those wildfires might be a thing of the past for now, but we caught up with a few of you and asked about how you were dealing with the unhealthy air quality. Let's toss it over to see what some of your responses were. Until we see you again, thanks for watching, and try to stay dry.
What do you think of the fires happening in California and affecting people in Washington?
I believe those fires started because not allowed to have any more proper logging, and you can't take down the undergrowth in California anymore due to the COVID restraints, and just didn't have the firefighters and park rangers do their job, so it created a worse than normal fire season.
Do you want any more questions? What do you think of the smoke behind you right now in PA? Can you see it?
That's smoke?
Sure. Well, the random homeless tweaker said it was fog. What is your opinion?
I'm with him. I thought it was fog. I guess it is smoke though. This reminds me of a constant barbecue.
I think it is kind of neat looking. My old town used to get this way worse, and so I'm pretty used to this. It's not as bad as it could be. I think it's awful what's going on, but it's making for good photo shoots and a spooky aesthetic all around town.
It's good to see that you were fine. How are you dealing with the smoke?
The smoke, I mean, some days in Port Angeles are just this smoky and foggy. So recently, due to the forest fires, hasn't really affected me, but I do know it hurts the economics and like pollutes the air. So yeah, other than that, it's fine to me.
We wanted to get all the info. Oh, it's good. That sounded kind of dead up terrifying. It's not a reference to Jason. It's not. I was just making some noise.